So what we're going to spend the next 5 or 10 minutes on, this is a very short introduction to the topic, is kind of what are the basics of affordable housing. And I'm going to also refer to this purple flyer. So if you didn't get that, we'll make sure you get one before you head out of here today. So affordable housing, in the sort of capital A sense of the word, affordable, means that three things are going on. One is that it's regulated by some governmental body. It's either the local government, the state government, or the federal government. The next thing is that there's a long-term, what's called deed restriction. So it can't be just affordable this year. It's got to be affordable for multiple years, maybe 30 years, 50 years, maybe in perpetuity. And the third thing is that the occupants in affordable housing must meet some kind of income eligibility. So there are guidelines, and only certain people can live there. Affordable housing comes in two flavors. It's either public or private. And some of you are familiar with public housing because you may live in communities that have housing authorities, and that's public housing. Private housing, though, is everything else. And that can have been built by a for-profit developer or a non-profit developer. And some towns have what's called inclusionary zoning. Anybody from Hudson? All right, not a lot. But in Hudson, there's this big, beautiful new building called the Matrix. And a certain percentage of those units have to be affordable. So that's more and more common these days. If you see a building, a big building going up in your town, it may have an affordable housing requirement. So you should march into the management office and say, tell me about your affordable units. So as I said, one of the key things is that there are income limits. So if you have this purple flyer, most affordable housing is eligible to households at what's called 80% of area median income, which is kind of gobbledygook for 80% of the average, right? Sort of where most middle of the road folks are for the greater Boston area. If you live out in Springfield, this is going to be a different number, but close into Boston, this is the right number. So for a household size of 1, this means that your income cannot exceed $56,800. If you make $56,900, you're not eligible for affordable housing. And it's based on household size. So you start with what's your household size, and then you read across, and there's the magic number that you need to be under. Now, some affordable housing has different income limits. So your public housing authority probably has lower income limits than this one. So when you see a flyer or you read an ad in the paper, you got to kind of look and pay attention to those numbers because they might not be exactly these numbers. It's very confusing. Affordable housing is sort of designed to be confusing and to make it hard for you to apply to. Yeah, but we're going to give you the secrets on how to apply tonight. So, below that in the purple sheet are some sample rents. Now, a lot of people look at this and say, what? That's the affordable rent? It is still kind of high. So a one-bedroom affordable rent is around $1,600. Now, they come up with that number because they assume that you're making $50,000 or $60,000, which is why you can afford the $1,600 a month rent. Now, we all know that's not how it works for a lot of people. So again, when you're looking at flyers and advertisements, you got to kind of check the numbers and make sure it's a number that you could, in fact, handle with your income. All right. A couple of other things as you're thinking about applying for affordable housing. Where do you want to live? It's good to start out with that list, but be open to considering other communities because affordable housing opportunities are few and far between. So you might say, I must live in Harvard. I'm going to pick on Harvard because I don't think there's any affordable housing in Harvard. No, that's not true. That's not true. There's a few. There's definitely a few. But you might wait 20 years before a unit comes up in Harvard. So you might need to think about, okay, I can actually live in a bigger area than maybe I thought about. And then most importantly, you gotta start early and stay in it, despite how depressing it will be at times. The only way to get affordable housing is to get your name on lists, and to get your name into lotteries, and get your name on more lists. So it's survival of the fittest. That's the truth. A lot of people don't get affordable housing because their name comes up on the list somewhere, and your phone number's been changed, and you forgot to tell them. So they skip you. They go on to the next person. So not only do you have to apply to a lot of places, you got to keep track of all the places you applied to, and if you move, you got to let them know, right? They need your updated phone number, email, and mailing address. Otherwise, you might miss an opportunity. So, sounds like fun, right? Everyone's going to go apply for affordable housing now?